1967, he later entered the monastic community and began formation for priesthood. When Dan discerned that his true vocation was to marriage and family life, his bond with St. Meinrad remained strong. He continued to serve through a variety of leadership roles within the development office, including as vice president for development. Dan's commitment to stewardship and faith-based leadership has shaped countless communities. He served as chief planning and development officer for the Archdiocese of Louisville, where he created a stewardship education program. He went on to do the same in the Archdiocese of Indianapolis and the Archdiocese of Chicago, before beginning work for 2 national consulting firms and building stewardship programs for dioceses across the country. Dan also served as the Chief Development Officer for Marian University. His expertise and passion have been recognized at the highest levels. He served as an advisor to an ad hoc committee created by the U.S. bishops focused on stewardship. He is an internationally recognized author, publisher, and freelance writer. He's written more than 200 articles. He published 4 books on the theology and practice of Christian stewardship, as well as 4 books of historical fiction centered on the life and ministry of a Sicilian-American priest in St. Louis, Monsignor Salvatore I. Polizzi. Dan helped develop the case for investment in theological education, an ATS publication, and was the principal writer of Stewardship and Development in Catholic Parishes and Dioceses, a resource manual for the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops. Not one to be idle, obviously, Dan continues his work as a freelance writer and consultant. He currently serves as board chair for the International Catholic Stewardship Council and is conducting a comprehensive audit of our own St. Meinrad's communications office. Dan and his wife Sharon have 5 children and live in Louisville. No doubt St. Meinrad shaped Dan's life and work, and he credits his accomplishments to the time he spent here as a student in the monastery and as a co-worker. The Benedictine influence shaped his life and values. Over all the time that has passed, he has remained a deeply loyal son of St. Meinrad. And so on behalf of the St. Meinrad Alumni Board of Directors and the Alumni Association, it's with deep respect and great joy that I introduce this year's distinguished alumnus, Mr. Dan Conway.
Thank you. Last year, on Tuesday, November 5th, Election Day, I received a letter from Father Dennis informing me of my selection for this prestigious award. You could have knocked me over with a feather, because I can honestly say there is no award, civic or ecclesial, which would mean more to me than this one. Father Dennis asked if I would accept this honor. In response, I immediately sat down and wrote the following. I am pleased to accept this honor on behalf of the monks and lay men and women who formed me during my time as a student and who partnered with me during my years in the development office. The gifts that they generously gave me during my years on the Holy Hill are so precious that I have been compelled to share them with my family, friends, and co-workers, and with parishes, dioceses, schools, and other Catholic organizations that I have been privileged to serve throughout my professional life. It is not false humility, but the plain truth for me to say that by myself I have no business accepting this award. But I am pleased and proud to stand here today in the company of so many others. It would be impossible for me to acknowledge everyone who stands here with me today, but I do want to name some of those who are no longer with us. Please bear with me as I recite what Pope Francis might have called a litany of saints next door. Most of these folks literally are next door in the monastic cemetery at the bottom of the hill. Here's my list of saints next door. Alaric Scotcher, Aurelius Boberek, Blaise Heddick, Camillus Elspermann, Columba Kelly, Coleman Grabbert, Conrad Lewis, Cyprian Davis, Daniel Beekline, Eric Leese, Gabriel Verkamp, Gavin Barnes, Gerard Elspermann, Gregory Chamberlain, Hilary Ottensmeyer, Justin Duvall, Martin Dussault, Nathaniel Reeves, Rabin Hathorn, Rupert Ostick, Simeon Daly, Timothy Sweeney, Thomas Ostick, Vincent Tobin. And from outside the cloister walls, Benedictine Sister Mary Alice Lawhead, Dennis Gilring, John S. Macaulay, Gregory G. Kemp, Jesuit Father Paul J. Reinert, Nathan Mitchell, and last but definitely not least, my classmate, roommate, and dear friend, Father Noah Casey, who's standing right here next to me, just waiting to burst into song at any moment. These saints next door were not perfect, of course, but they were extraordinarily kind and generous to me, and they were passionate about this monastic community and its seminary schools. They reached out to me, they loved me, and they taught me many things. Here is a very brief summary of what they taught me. That God loves me even as I am. God loves me as I am, even as he calls me to be better than I am. That Christ died for me personally, and his self-sacrificing love freed me from the addictive power of sin and death. And that the church, with all its faults, is my spiritual home, and that I belong here with all my faults. They also helped me to discern God's will for me, my vocation. With the help of these saints next door and many others, I learned that I was not called to be a monk or a priest, in spite of the fact that I dearly love the Benedictine way of life, and I revere the men who serve our church as priests. My vocation is to take all the gifts that I have been given by my parents and grandparents, by the Jesuit priests and Notre Dame sisters who taught me in elementary and high school, and by the people I came to know and love here at St. Meinrad, to take these abundant gifts, develop them, and share them generously with others. My vocation is to be a grateful, generous, and responsible steward. I am called to develop and share my gifts, first of all, with my beautiful wife, Sharon, and with our children, Suzanne, Catherine, Margaret, Mary, and Dan, and with our granddaughter, Jocelyn, and our large extended family spread all over the country. The gifts that were developed here during my 20 years as a college student, novice and junior monk, theology student, and as a development officer must be shared. I have committed myself to sharing these gifts with dioceses, parishes, schools, seminaries, religious communities, and other Catholic organizations for more than 4 decades. And I have no plans to stop as long as God gives me the strength to continue. So on behalf of all those that I've mentioned and many others, some of them sitting right here at this table, thank you. May God continue to bless St. Meinrad.